the Brian Boroimhe replica sword handing over ceremony. What I'd like to do is to invite the Lord Mayor, Alderman Gareth Wilson, to speak. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, members of the O'Brien clan, Lord and Lady O'Brien, Dean Dunstan, very delighted to have you all here today. Our council is very much delighted to have you all here today. The sword that is being handed over today is the O'Brien clan official replica of the two-handed broadsword that belonged to Ireland's first and most famous High King and Emperor Brian Boroimhe, who lived from 941 to 1014 AD. The replica sword, as we can see next door, weighs a massive 11 pounds 6 ounces, and it's 5 foot 9 inches long in total, with a blade length of 3 foot 9 3/4. The original was unfortunately lost over time, and it's similar to the original to the best of known knowledge, except that a glass crystal has been set into the hilt, whereas originally it would almost certainly have had a precious stone of some form mounted in gold. So this is Boroimhe's second gift to the people of Armagh, his first being a gift of gold, I think around 20 ounces, which was left at the altar of the Church of Ireland Cathedral. So it is with immense pride that in the shadows of the great cathedral, and indeed the burial place of Brian Boroimhe, the council take this sword into their care for both the residents and visitors of the area to enjoy in this city. So, ladies and gentlemen, his legacy lives on. And I think at this point we're going to move through and unveil the sword. So thank you very much.
There you go. There you go.
Give us a nice...
Mayor, Dean, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to present the sword to the city of Armagh on a long-term loan. I hope that the sword becomes a symbol of peace and unity. Brian Boroimhe used the sword as a defensive weapon and as an offensive weapon, but he also used it to bring unity to 95% of Ireland. I hope that from now on the sword becomes a symbol of peace and unity in Ireland. Thank you.
At this stage, I'd like to invite our Lord Mayor to hand over the legal agreement, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Signed, sealed and delivered, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Maybe I could just say a quick word. I'd like to obviously thank everyone for being here today, Mayor, and for Armagh to accept this magnificent sword. I'd like to thank James and Cheryl for arranging this. It's through their auspices that this has happened, and I'm delighted that John Spillane is here today also, who made the sword. It's one of 3 replicas in the world, one in America, one here, and one in Australia. The original, as we said, was lost, and maybe we can find it with social media nowadays. Who knows, we may find the original one, not the actual sword belonging to Brian Boroimhe, but one that was made in about 1600. I'd like to say that we are delighted, the clan is delighted to have this representation here, and it's nice to know that it's now fairly close to where the great man was buried, just up the hill there. And I'd like to thank these lovely girls for coming in and brightening up the atmosphere, and we're just sorry we can't see you dance, but we will one day.
I have a little gift for each of you.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming and being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. is it a?
Well, the idea of it in my head was, you know, if it's great to read something, and you know you can see in front of you in words, but when you have a little bit of tangible evidence that there was something more than that there, and as James said, it wasn't about taking over, it was about uniting and giving stability, and that is what I hope it'll represent in the future. That's the idea of it, and I think it will, you know, because it's an impressive piece, and there's no sharp edges.
Okay.
It doesn't need it, you know. It doesn't do that unless you get a clout of it.
And the handle, what's the construction of that? What's it made of in terms of?
It's brass.
Brass.
And folded and cut out and shaped, and there's little kind of, they're not real dens, I don't know if they were on the thumb there. I kept it as much as information as Conor and James gave me. I kept it as close as I possibly could to what was there. It's nice to see it and to know, you know, he was a fair weapon of a man himself, you know. He's a great man for herding sheep. Go on there now, go on.
No bother, well, look, thank you for making them.
I'm delighted it's here. I really am, and I think it's in great hands.
Yeah.
Almost the kind of sword that you would carry in procession as a symbol of state.
Yeah.
With the sheer weight of it and the visual weight of it.
It's motto, it's strong arm uppermost, so it's meant to be that way. So you're right.